The Roman and Sasanian empires fought each other for decades, but in 589 AD at the Araxes River, the Sasanians were crushed by the Romans. In a fit of fury, the Sasanian Shah Hormiz IV stripped Bahram Choban of command. Deeply humiliated, Bahram turned his battle-hardened troops around and began a ruthless march toward the Sasanian capital of Ctesiphon. Desperate to avert total civil war, the panicked Persian court dragged Hormiz IV from his throne, blinded him, and placed his young son, Khosrow II. But Bahram pressed his advance, forcing the terrified Shah to abandon his capital and flee. The deposed Shah begged for asylum from his most bitter enemy, the Byzantine Empire. Seizing the opportunity, Emperor Maurice answered the call. The Romans advanced and crushed Bahram and killed him, restoring Khosrow II to his throne. In return, Khosrow had handed over large swaths of Armenia, Georgia, and crucial frontier strongholds like Dara and Martyropolis. For the first time, the two great empires are now allies, and Maurice turned his gaze toward the dangerous Danube frontier. But peace purchased at the expense of an exhausted treasury. Years of continuous campaigning had utterly depleted Constantinople's gold reserves, forcing Maurice to cut the army's winter rations and ordered them to live off the harsh lands beyond the Danube. The Roman legions, tired and freezing, refused to obey. A brutal mutiny erupted, led by a low-ranking centurion named Phocas. Declared emperor by his rebellious troops, Phocas marched directly on the capital. Maurice failed to defend his throne. Fleeing across the Bosporus, the deposed emperor and his young sons were captured and systematically executed. Word of the coup reached Khosrow II. The murder of his former benefactor was a catastrophic insult, but also the perfect opportunity. Claiming to be the avenger of his adopted father Maurice, and even parading a young man he claimed was Maurice's surviving son Theodosius, Khosrow declared total war on the usurper Phocas. To make matters worse, Narses, the highly capable Byzantine governor of Mesopotamia, openly revolted against Phocas and actively invited the Persian forces into Roman territory. The first blow arrived as Phocas dispatched a Roman army to defend the fortress city of Dara. But in 605, the Sasanian forces completely routed them in a brutal battle outside the walls. Dara was subjected to a grueling siege, and the fortress was captured by the Sasanians. In 608, the elderly exarch of Africa, Heraclius, launched a massive rebellion against Phocas, cutting off the vital grain shipments from Egypt to Constantinople. Syria and Palestine rapidly dissolved into a complex civil war between factions loyal to Phocas, supporters of the African rebels, and local religious minorities. Seizing upon this profound Byzantine infighting, Khosrow's brilliant generals, Shah Hormiz and Shahin, advanced through the Roman East, capturing Mardin, Amida, Edessa, and Theodosiopolis before launching deep cavalry raids that penetrated as far as Bithynia, within sight of Constantinople itself. By 610, the rebel general Heraclius the Younger, son of the African exarch, successfully sailed his armada into the Golden Horn, overthrew the hated Phocas, and was crowned emperor. Before his execution, Heraclius said to Phocas, "Is it thus that you have governed the empire?" "Will you," replied Phocas, "govern it any better?" The new ruler fully expected the Persians to cease their hostilities, believing that with the tyrant Phocas dead, the Sasanian casus belli had vanished. But he was deeply mistaken. Believing he was close to an ultimate total victory and the permanent restoration of the ancient Achaemenid Empire, the Shah ignored Heraclius's embassies and ordered his armies to press deeper into the Roman heartland. The year 611 brought complete disaster to the Levant. Sasanian forces smashed through the remaining Roman frontier armies and captured Antioch, the third city of the Roman world and the political linchpin of the East. Sasanian forces moved south with terrifying speed. Damascus fell shortly after, leaving the entire province of Palestine exposed to the Sasanian onslaught. Then came the year 614, and with it the defining tragedy of the era. The Sasanian general Shah Hormiz led his army to the gates of Jerusalem. For 20 days, the ancient walls of the Holy City were battered by Persian siege engines until they finally collapsed. What followed was a massacre of unprecedented proportions. Tens of thousands of Christian citizens were slaughtered, and the city's grandest churches, including the Holy Sepulchre, were put to the torch. But the ultimate blow was the capture of the Holy Cross, the supreme relic of Christendom, which was violently ripped from its shrine and carried away to Ctesiphon as a trophy of war. The loss of Jerusalem sent shockwave to all Rome. In the years following the sack of Jerusalem, Shah Hormiz marched the victorious Sasanian armies into Egypt. Overwhelming the disorganized local defenses, the Persians captured Alexandria and rapidly subdued the entire province. For the first time in centuries, the wealth and grain of the Nile flowed to Ctesiphon instead of Constantinople. The empire appeared to be in a state of irreversible collapse. The loss of the holy relics and the desecration of the sacred sites were widely viewed by the public as an undeniable sign of divine anger against the empire. Byzantium was bleeding out, its armies broken, its holiest treasures stolen, and its lands occupied by an enemy that seemed utterly unstoppable. The storm from the east had broken the Roman world, and the shadow of the Sasanian Shah now loomed over the entire horizon.